Today, we're talking to Scott Henderson, CTO at Celigo, about why he thinks AI is overhyped, but still needs to be adopted as quickly as possible. Thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring this episode. For simple cloud and powerful AI that's built to scale, visit DigitalOcean.com or just click the link in the show notes. You're listening to Joel Beasley, Modern CTO.
All right, so Celigo is the name of the company. You're the co-founder. Why did you start this company?
You know, I was a young, naive kid back. It was like 2006. I had worked one other job, and you know, just that adventure aspect of startups. And you know, I grew up hearing about all the garage companies that's, you know, started in someone's garage and turned into these big, huge empires, and that just was always real exciting. You know, I'm like the type of person that if there was a gold rush, I would go there and want to go do that too. So just the adventure of it all when I was young. And so my boss, the CEO, he started the company, and I had worked with him at a NetSuite before he started Celigo. So I knew him, and I knew he had just started a company. So, you know, I just called him one day. I was like, "Hey, dude, let me come join you. I want to do it too." And that's really how it started. And he was actually working out of his garage, so I get to say that I joined when we were in the garage. But yeah, it was in pursuit of an adventure, and I really had no idea what I was getting myself into because it's a grind, it's hard. But at that time, it was pretty fun and exciting sounding.
When you made that phone call, you were like, what value did you think that you had to him? You're just going to call this guy and be like, "Hey, I want to join you." What value did you bring?
Well, at that time, I brought a lot of value. So the company started off as a consulting firm specializing in NetSuite integrations. And I was the primary person responsible for testing NetSuite's integrations. So I knew them better than anyone on the planet. And so I told him, I said, "Hey, you know, I know these things better than anyone in the whole world, and I'm really good at solving automation problems." I still remember telling him that at a Starbucks or something. I said, "I'm really good at taking hard problems and automating them." And that combination, he just got real interested real fast, and then we made it happen right after that.
And then you just started having those business conversations about what it would look like if you joined, and because that's a big risk for you. Like you have this vision of empires, you've seen it happen, so you have to understand like the business side of things, and then you have, you know, your family that you got to care for, so you had to work something out. How did all that happen?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the risk. So luckily, I didn't have any family, kids. You know, I had no wife, no kids at that time. The risk for me was, so I was at NetSuite. They were pre-IPO. They were for sure going to IPO. Very successful company, tons of career paths. When I told them I was going to leave, they gave me lots of options. They were like a really awesome group of people over there. And so that was the risk. It's like, man, am I just making a stupid mistake throwing away this chance to work at a great company like NetSuite, which is now part of Oracle, for the rest of my career, to go do something that could totally fail? And so that was where the risk factor was. Talk to like family and friends, and, you know, I think my dad said it best. He said, "Look, Scott, I can hear the excitement in your voice when you talk about the startup. I don't hear that when you talk about the safe bet." So yeah, that was the straw that made me decide, like, yeah, I got to take a chance.
Your dad basically said YOLO.
Yeah, totally.
That is awesome. And so it worked out. How is Celigo doing?
Celigo's great. So we've been, we're like, almost 20 years old, 700, 800 employees, you know, successful business, always been kind of profitable along the way. We're one of those organic grown companies, didn't take a lot of funding, always teetering the lines of profitability. And it's a good company. It's a lot of good people that work here. So that's probably the most, aside from building awesome products, the people that you work with is the second most important thing to me. And the people here are really nice, hardworking, good people.
Were you intentional about that at the beginning, or was it just heads down, let's make money, we got to figure this out?
No, we were very intentional. So we kind of came at it like, the the two things that we both wanted to do, was never make someone work on the weekends. We both worked at companies where they would, kind of like that movie, so it's The Office, where the guy walks around on Friday and is like, tries to get everyone to come in the next day. Both had experienced that, didn't want to have that kind of culture. Never discourage people to work on the weekends, but never like, hey, you got to work Saturday, Sunday. And then the other big thing we said is we don't want to hire any assholes. So we had some really talented assholes in the early days, and we just decided it's not worth it. And so that was the other thing. And I think from those early decisions, we just have a good group of people that have come, stayed, and hired similar good people.
And so if you were to go back to yourself 20 years ago when you were starting this and give yourself like one key takeaway, what would it be?
Oh, man. I mean, just that it's going to be a grind. I don't think I understood just how much you have to keep going. And just it's never like easier. It's just always another hard thing around the corner. Yeah. I don't think I was prepared for that, just that grind. Yeah.
It's just a series of getting punched in the face different ways.
Yeah. I mean, you're always dealing with the next big problem. Then you eventually think you have it all figured out. And then it's like AI came around, 4 years ago, and just like, then everything had to be rethought out. Like I kind of felt like I was in my golden years. I had all the techs figured out, and it's just like, it was just very clear what was going to happen. And then all of a sudden comes AI, and that's just like threw everything for a whirl.
But you guys have adapted pretty well. I've been reading and looking at as far as your current product goes, you've been able to leverage the AI more than it crush you, right?
Yeah, I think we definitely have stayed ahead of the curve and are on top of it. But talk about a whirlwind of changes and like tons of info to like decipher and keep up to date with, and what's real, what's not, and there's just a lot. It was definitely a lot of change really fast all of a sudden, and it's tough.
Well, luckily we've got beautiful, infallible, perfect AI agents that can autonomously help us with this stuff.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just tell my agent to do my job.
That's right. Yeah, you say, wake up, do job. That's it. That's the function called do job.
Right.
So you said that you started as this consultancy for NetSuite. Now it's a full-blown automation platform. How do you explain to people, like if you're out in public and you run into somebody and like, what do you do? Like, how do you explain to them the tool in like 10 seconds?
You mean what does your company do?
Yeah. Like what does it do now? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the example I always give people is, let's say you sell hats and t-shirts on Amazon. You have a website where you have a store where you can buy online, or you sell on Amazon or eBay. Well, those orders get placed, and then, you need those orders to go into your accounting system, into your inventory system, to your warehouse to actually go and ship them. And so I just tell people, we're that middle layer, we're that plumbing. Like when the order gets placed and it lives in Amazon, we get that order over to all your other systems so that hat that you bought makes it over to your house, and so on. So that's how I describe it to my friends and family who are not at all technical. I just say we're kind of the plumbing between all the different websites and applications that are out there that people run their business on. It used to be hard to explain that. Now it's much easier because I think pretty much everywhere you go, people are using lots of different apps, and so they get it. Like, oh yeah, I don't want to enter data in the same place multiple times. So I understand why you need a product like Celigo.
Well, absolutely. And it sounds like you're specialized. So the first product that comes to mind is Zapier, because that's one of the ones that we've used previously, trying to connect CRM data systems and things like that. But it doesn't seem like you're a direct competitor to them. It seems like you have your own lane that you crush it in. Am I getting it right or no?
Yeah, that's true. Like Zapier is a really good product for just individuals that want to try to do automations for themselves, for their own work, their own day-to-day work. Like, hey, every time I get an email, look at this email and go create a task. That's where Zapier really shines. It's for the individual at a company. Anyone can kind of pick it up and start doing their own little personal automations. we're more like integrating systems, like integrating Salesforce and NetSuite, and like bringing those two apps together in their entirety, where, let's say in Salesforce, you updated 20,000 contact records, and you need that to just be synced automatically to NetSuite, or put it in Snowflake, or, wherever you have the data replicated. That's where our product shines. It's like, it's keeping systems in sync in mass, plus automations. I mean, you can do the same type of Zapier automations in our product, but it's their product is easier to do those individual things.
When I was preparing for this interview, I learned about something new. Atomic agents. Do you know about this? Can you explain this to me?
I mean, it's just a term I started using.
Okay.
Yeah, because so we were really thinking about agents like from a first principles standpoint, and like workflows and how they fit into workflows. And our premise over here is that you want to give an agent the least amount of autonomy possible. Anything that you can do to anything that you can figure out that's deterministic about what an agent needs to do, you should actually code that up, or if you have a workflow automation tool, map that out so that all the deterministic stuff is like laid out and running. And then you want to find the places where autonomy is just absolutely required, and it's minimal. It's like, it's just the part that cannot be done through any type of deterministic set of steps. Like, you need a brain at this step to decide, I need to do like A, B, C, then A, and then B again. And there's no way to map out what it would be always. And so that's like, to us, the atomic agent. It's that minimal amount of autonomy that you need, that there's no way to break it down any further. It's like impossible to break that down into a deterministic set of steps. And then that's what we build. Like, we call them like agentic workflows, AI workflows. There's a lot of terminology out there. But we believe just when you're automating workflows and processes, you want to map out as much as you can deterministically, just with all the old traditional, good old fashioned tools and APIs. And then the parts where you need autonomy, you put in what I'm calling atomic agents that are just like the minimum autonomy possible, because it just, it's the least likely to make mistakes. It's easier for the AI to do its task. And then you couldn't do it before. So it unlocks something that was impossible to do before, unless you had like human in the loop workflows where you send a task to a human to do that part. Now you can actually, just have the AI do some of those things that are, there's some things that are easy for the AI to do.
I did my first one about 3 to 6 months ago. So I was having this problem where I get a lot of emails. I get it because of the show and everything. I get so much outreach. And there were, people reaching out that were trying to get on the show, or I was just missing the emails, people interested in doing, promotions, whatever it was. And so what I ended up doing was I ran the calculator on costs to have an AI look at every one of my email. And so I did an integration where every time there's a new Gmail email, it will, I explained to an AI agent essentially what it looks like, the type of emails I want it to flag, and then write a draft reply, and then have it pending in my in a specific folder. So that's the most basic one, because you can't really do it with keywords. Like, I tried to do it before AI with like keywords and stuff, but the thing is, everyone uses the keyword podcast like in their footer, so it just creates all of this junk, and it's not actually faster because it's got too many things in there that are noise instead of signal. But it ended up working pretty well.
Yeah, that's like a beautiful example of using AI. I call those human assisted. Like, you have it do something and tee up the thing to you to look at as a final, like you're verifying it at the end, but it did all the annoying heavy lifting stuff beforehand.
Yeah, and there were two legs. The first leg was like a standard functional API for new message.
Yep.
And the second one was just the agentic review of it. And then the third one was, creating a draft reply, which is kind of almost like a mix of both of them. Yeah. Right? Because it created the text and then injected it. So yeah, it's
yeah, we would call that an AI workflow because it's like it's predetermined what you're doing, and then you just have steps that have AI doing various things. Whereas like there's the autonomous agent, in its pure form, you would just say, hey, your job is to make sure I only get emails that are that meet this criteria, and you give it a tool to go look at your email. You just give it a bunch of tools, and then you let it decide what it wants to do. And that's, not going to work.
There's a lot of tools out there that are trying to do that right now. Like Superhuman, I think, is one of them. Gmail, Apple Intelligence. Have you gotten that update on do you use the standard mail app on your iPhone to?
No. Yeah, I do. I use it for work. So I have my work emails on the iPhone. I use Apple Mail for work and then Gmail for personal, so I don't have to like share them. I keep them separate that way.
So have you seen in the standard iOS mail app, the new Apple Intelligence that lays over where it'll filter your mail out?
I know. And so I gave Apple Intelligence a chance and I quickly turned it off. I just feel like Apple's,
about it?
And this was maybe a year ago. I mean, Apple just seems so behind the curve on this. Like I feel like they have to almost like really impress me to get me to trust them again. Like Siri still, like I'm just like, dude, Siri, can you change songs or do? It just seems like it can't do anything. So therefore, I have a bad taste of what anything new they're doing. And so I did try like the whole ChatGPT integration and all that stuff, and it still just did weird stuff that I didn't like. So I turned it off, and now I don't know. Like I have to hear something really cool to get me to want to go turn it back on.
I don't have that for you today.
Yeah.
I'm like, my entire response to all that could be like, it's okay. It's something. I mean, it's a step. I don't notice it at all in the operating system, minus the mail filtering stuff it does for me, which Gmail's doing pretty well on its own anyways.
Right.
But yeah, I fully reflect your experience with being depressed about Siri not being what it should be. For me, it's just easier to open up Grok or Gemini or GPT or Claude and just do what I want to do directly into the app.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it was Apple's ex-CEO is like on the news right now saying that OpenAI is really their first competitor in a long time. And I remember when ChatGPT came out, I remember thinking, God, like this is what Apple needed is like so badly if they had this. It's like the perfect usable companion. It's like, it's the next evolution of user experience, and they missed it, So
Google missed it too. They were all playing catch up.
Right. And I think Google, I don't use Google's AI that much. I mean, it's the search one I do, but they're at least well positioned to catch up. I don't know that Apple's like I don't know what type of researchers.
I don't know what's going on at Apple. Yeah. But you're right. Google has the bench to catch up. To be honest with you, I've been pretty pessimistic about the Google AI stuff for the past couple years, like Gemini and stuff, especially with the examples that had come out in the news and all of that. But my wife last week said that she had been using Gemini a little bit. She was usually a fan of Grok, and she's been using Gemini a little bit, and she started to like the responses. So last 3 or 4 days ago, I installed Gemini, and I gotta say, it's getting significantly better than it was.
Yeah, Google's my go-to, and I need a web search. When I need the latest, best info on the web, it's like seems the best. So I find myself using lots of different AIs all throughout the day, and each one has its own little place. And Google's is, if I need the latest info on the web, go to them. The one in ChatGPT is not that great. Perplexities, so, and yeah.
I don't go to Perplexity. I cycle between GPT or ChatGPT, Claude, usually for show notes and writings and things like that, and then Grok, and then now I've been going between Grok and Gemini too. So, but I haven't gotten to Perplexity. Is that something I should look at?
Not yet. No, I would wait until it's like something. There's nothing like novel there. We liked it in the early days because you could like make API calls. Like, so you could put an API call to Perplexity to go get some data dynamically from the web. that was really interesting for us, like building workflows and automations where you want to start to throw in web searching and then AI analysis of the info you get back. So they were early there, and that was cool. So we still use them probably for that in some places, but now everyone else has that capability. So I don't know if they have anything stand out anymore.
You ever come across Venice AI?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, that's it's like the security nerds AI, unrestricted, unlogged versions of the models, so you can interact with them. And the way it's created by this guy named Eric Voorhees, but he did a lot of stuff in the crypto world. But anyways, whenever I have something like a question that I need a good answer on that I don't want there being an audit trail of, I go to Venice.
Yeah.
Because they all profile you. They all save your stuff to try to serve you better in the future. And to be honest, I want them to do that. But sometimes there's medical questions that I don't want them to have, or there's legit questions that I have that I don't want it to know that I'm asking or have a history of it.
Right.
So,
yeah, makes sense.
Real quick, before we continue, I wanted to give a special shout out to DigitalOcean for sponsoring this episode. DigitalOcean is cloud infrastructure that's simple to spin up, complete with integrated AI dev tools, plus 99.99% uptime SLAs and industry-leading pricing on bandwidth. We all know DigitalOcean. It's super reliable. It's been around forever. And now with DigitalOcean's Gradient platform, developers can train, fine-tune, deploy, and scale AI workloads all in one place. DigitalOcean is reliable and affordable at any budget. Companies can save up to 30% on their cloud bill when they come to DigitalOcean. Use code DO25 and get $200 in free credits to get started. Simple cloud, powerful AI, built to scale. That's DigitalOcean.
Now, back to the episode.
So let's talk more about what you're doing over there. What's the project that you're working on that you're allowed to talk about that you're most excited about right now?
Yeah, I mean, the project that I'm working on right now is, I mean, you've seen Cursor, I'm sure. Cursor.
It's on my computer right now. It's up.
Yeah. So we're building a Cursor, for our product. I think every SaaS company is going to do this. It's like, it's really the UX of the future is chatting and telling a product what you want it to do. But the key thing is you need to see the product doing what you told it you wanted it to do. Like, so you still have our web app, just like any other, just like Zapier, or, it's just like, you're still going to see that and be able to use that. But you're also going to have a chat on the side. And when you tell the chat to do something, you're going to see that happening on the left. So if you know exactly what you're doing with the product, you're going to, watch it and verify that it's doing what you want. If not, if you're brand new, you're going to see it doing it. So you're going to kind of learn. But the user experience, like all that work, all these years that we put into a great user experience that every company has done, is now it's like the validator. It's how you, the human, see that the AI is doing what you want. So it's still just as important, but it shifts from being the thing that you work inside to how you validate that what you want is happening. And then you're going to just type and say, here's what I want to happen, just like with Cursor. And the beautiful thing about AI is that it can bridge the gap between how you have something in your head and how you describe it to what that is in the product. It's very easy for AI to like map those two things together. Like, I want to build an automation, I want to build a flow. It knows that those things are the same thing in a product. And so it can just bridge that gap. So it's a game-changing capability for user experience. And so that's the project I'm working on. I'm very excited about, and it's a lot of fun doing that.
That concept you just brought up is the first time I've heard it. And it really like touched deep. It was like, yes. Is that something you've read from a book or a UI person, or is that one of your thoughts? Where did that come from?
That's one of my thoughts. It's just
it's a good one.
Yeah.
Have you written a blog post about it?
No, I don't. I don't do enough of that stuff. I'm one of those people that's always heads down, in a dark room. I take that back. My rooms are light, but I'm alone, working, thinking all the time, and I don't get out much.
Well, luckily we have a clip of it on this awesome podcast, so we'll push it out there to the world. But you're exactly right. I mean, that is exactly what I am experiencing. It was the interface I was clicking and using, and now I'm talking to the LLM and I'm using it to watch what it's doing and validate that it's doing what I want it to do.
Yep, exactly. Because AI is amazing, but you have to watch everything it does. It is not like trustworthy enough to where it's not going to come back with here's a better way to do it, Scott. I wish I could say, here's what I'm trying to do. And it's like, oh, well, here's a better way. It goes and does something and you're like, okay, that was not what I wanted. So you got to be able to watch it.
Then you're like, there's a mistake. You're like, oh, you're right. There is a mistake. I'll go back and fix that again. No, I started playing around with Lovable. Have you played with this at all?
I haven't, no. I've been on Cursor. That's like been my main little buddy. And I haven't had a chance to do the other ones yet.
So I would say, if you're playing with Cursor, you're getting like a developer side view of what this is like. I would recommend, if you ever wanted the non-technical view of what like a non-technical human trying to use this stuff looks like, I would check out lovable.dev. Cool. Because it's marketed and designed at non-technical people to build technical applications and like websites and things like that.
Yep.
And then, my background is building software for 20 years. So I went to use it to make like a basic website and it did pretty good. And then I tried to do some database related, like some more deeper stuff. And it quickly turned into like a rat's nest, like so badly, because it takes away all the details from you seeing it. It's not like Cursor where you can actually see it, write the test, and like you can be really granular with it if you're smart enough, and so I think a lot of everyday users right now are getting this experience of you talking about like the validating, but they're getting it through Lovable where the validation isn't like that great.
Yeah. I mean, even with Cursor, it'll run away. And when I first started, I got too trusting. I was just hoping that it could do more. And, I just started to like let it run and just accept. And then I almost lost my whole code base because I lost the mental ability to comprehend what was going on across all the files and places. And I almost was like, crap, I have to like throw this away. But I was able to, through a couple days of a lot of painful refactoring, I had to read every single line of code myself and then bring it all back together. And then I learned from that moment on. And it was a new project, so it wasn't, it was doable. And now I know don't ever let it do its thing without watching what it's doing.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. You had this webinar. I haven't watched it, but the webinar, we'll put a link to it. But it breaks down building of AI agents. Are you in that webinar?
I am not. No. But I'm pretty sure I know who will be. It's people that I've done a lot of projects internally where we use our product to build these agentic workflows and stuff. So I'm sure they're going to be showing some of those, and they're going to be definitely preaching our philosophy that you want to minimize autonomy, make sure you do as much deterministic stuff as possible. Again, so it makes the least amount of mistakes, costs are under control. AI can be very expensive. I was doing like a calculation the other day of, if you're syncing 1,000 records across 5 different steps and you're using just AI for everything, that's like $30, maybe more, maybe $50. Whereas a typical, CPU at AWS running normal code is nothing. It costs nothing to do 1,000 records. And so that's kind of the philosophy they're going to be talking about, and just showing people practical use cases on things they can do. It's not that hard. I mean, all those API platforms have wonderful APIs to go interact and plug those into your stuff. So yeah, that's what I think they're going to be doing there.
What's the most expensive mistake that you've made with AI?
Maybe the most expensive mistake is the opposite of what you're thinking. It's that we didn't get into it fast enough. We lost like Cursor, and thinking like being hesitant to like just let it go. And meaning like, let's roll it out to the whole team and tell everybody on the team they can use the most expensive model as much as they want. And there's no limits on spending, as long as it's helping them do work faster. We took too long, I think, to get that in our heads and get that throughout all the teams and let everyone go with that. So I think that's the most expensive mistake I made with AI, is not being fast enough to realize the productivity boost it could have for engineering and getting everyone going there. There's just a mindset where people have like, oh my God, I just spent $30 in the last hour on a bunch of AI calls. Like, oh, that's terrible. Finance is going to come after me, and because that's going to add up. It's going to be like $500 by the end of the month, but that you just did the work of two of you, because you didn't have to code like thousands of lines of code. So the CFO is not going to come after you, or if he does, we'll come with you and help you.
Leave that mystery. They might, but we're gonna back you up. So you're saying that you are in a position today where that's been communicated. That's the culture now.
Yeah, just go all out. And even still, there are people that are hesitant. They're just, I think so. And then there's one person that, they were like, so we can see who spends the most, each person. And everyone was like really critical of the top guy spending the most. And it's like, and so I get it. And I get it, because like, you're just nervous about spending money. But then when you see what he's doing, he's launching this really cool new service. It's all brand new frameworks and programming languages. And, he did something in a very short amount of time that would have taken months. So then it quickly is like, oh yeah, it's no brainer to do that.
So I want to talk a little bit about when you had that realization, like what was the moment where you were like, this is unacceptable, the speed at which we're implementing this, something's got to change?
Yeah, it was just in my own experience coding. So so as a founder, you find yourself bouncing around lots of different places. You go wherever the business needs you the most. And maybe for a year, I was working with our account management team, like on helping customers identify more use cases, like just helping us get the word out on all the cool stuff you could do with the product. Getting a lot of tools built internally. So I built a lot of these like little AI workflows to like help account managers understand the customer, like where you go and you get what they're doing in the product, you get their subscription, you get analytics from Snowflake, you go run web searches to find out who they are, you look up the people you're meeting with, and you build this little story for the AM to read right before they go into their meeting. So they really know the customer, and they have use cases lined up. So I built a lot of tools there. And so I was doing that for a year, not coding. And that's when Cursor and all that stuff came out, was somewhere in that year. And so then when I got to a point where I couldn't really help the account management team anymore, I went back into product land. It's like, okay, what could I work on in product? And I started just using Cursor at that point, because it was like, oh yeah, you got to use Cursor. And that was the eye-opening thing. I was like, oh my God, this is like crazy how much more productive you can be. So that was the moment. It was just a break from coding and then back in, and then using just the tool that's out there at that time and seeing what it can do and realizing, wow, we got to get this going like ASAP with the teams.
So you saw it, started using it just out of the nature of your work, and then you immediately were of the mindset that, hey, we need to get this spread far and wide throughout engineering.
Yeah. Yep. And like whenever I take on a project, I always will look at what's the latest stuff out there, get a fresh start every time. Because that's my job too. I actually like that too. I'm like a gear person too. Like any sport I do, it's like I gotta have like the coolest, latest gear.
Of course.
So if I'm gonna go start a new project, it's like, what's the coolest ID I could do? What's the new stuff I want to get?
It's
all
not
set up
Sublime anymore.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so let's talk about the executive side of getting this information out, this knowledge out to engineering about Cursor. What was it? Was it a memo? Was it an all hands? Was it you instructing your direct reports to cascade it down? Like, how did this actually roll out?
Yeah. So I have a really awesome SVP of engineering named Suresh. And so I just like met with him we can talk whenever. So anytime something comes to mind, we just reach out, talk, and so I just showed him. I was like, hey, watch this, watch me code, watch what I'm building, and just highlighted like how amazing it was. And then it was quickly also his realization, like we got to get this rolled out. So the next day, I think we happened to have our weekly engineering leadership meeting. We'd start talking about this with the team. Strong top-down push to get everyone to do this. So I think we got total buy-in from all the directors. The next day, maybe a couple days after that, they wanted to try some stuff themselves. Then we started telling everyone on the teams to sign up, start using it, give us feedback. Then there was a lot of like, we did a lot of like, comparisons, like, okay, we've used Copilot before. Let's try, how does this compare? Get everyone's feedback. There were lunch and learns. So we did a lot. Like Suresh is really awesome at like, once you're going to do something across the org, like rolling it out to everybody and getting all the teams involved and buy-in and doing like bottoms up feedback, top down feedback, just all that stuff. He's kind of like he's a very nice guy, but he's a force to be reckoned with when he's on a mission to do something like that. So I have the easy part. I sit back and just be like, yeah, that was my idea.
Well, you hired well.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's good. Okay, yeah, lunch and learns, connecting it to something they already kind of knew, like Copilot. Now, you guys had been using Copilot, but what, the adoption just wasn't as wide or it wasn't as impressive?
It was before agent mode came out, and it was like, sure, it helps, like autocomplete is great, but it wasn't like the same as, Cursor with agent mode where it goes off and does like 10 things in a row that were, kind of hard to piece together.
Yeah, I didn't really use Copilot. Because in that time period of Copilot coming out to Cursor, I just wasn't actively programming on a day-to-day basis. And when I went back to it, my buddy Derek's like, check out Cursor. And I did. And I created this Rails project that would have taken me like 2 weeks and like 3 hours. And I was just blown away by it.
Yeah. And especially if you haven't coded in a while, to just think about like I was like, oh man, how do you do a PR again? And now I just say, hey, commit this, do this. Do
I know.
Yeah.
I wasn't even typing git commit. I just would say commit and here's the message, and it would just do it.
Yeah. So that's like, that's amazing. And Copilot was nothing like that. So,
yeah. So you're in San Francisco, is that right?
Well, I'm just south of San Francisco.
Okay.
In a little town called Burlingame, right by the airport, actually.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
And then there are a lot of billboards around there. I've been told about pushing to replace employees with AI. Is this true? Have you seen these?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of AI billboards. There's a lot of AI agent billboards. It's definitely talk in Silicon Valley about agents entering the workforce. Like, so it's out there, and it's definitely, you're definitely inundated with AI agents materials. When you drive through San Francisco, when you drive down the peninsula, you're going to see it.
You're a pretty smart guy. How do you think this is going to roll out?
You mean like AI agents?
Like from where we are today versus like you interviewing and hiring an AI employee?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're a ways away. I think we're a ways away, and the key, there's a lot missing. Like everyone's so impressed by like the intelligence of ChatGPT and all these models, and they are very impressive. But you have to think like there's a whole nother set of things needed for AI to be your coworker. And like maybe the biggest glaring gap that I'm like, and sometimes I Google it and I don't find much info on this, and I'm like, maybe I'm just missing something or what, but it's the ability to learn fast. Like I could tell an employee on my team, hey, you can't do this way. And maybe they'll make one more mistake, but after that, it's ingrained, it's like, and they take that with them forever. The humans you just tell them stuff and they learn, and the AI doesn't have that ability to like learn. The memories they are doing right now are nothing like human memories where you're just constantly absorbing new info every day, adapting to changing environments, and still being able to use all your intelligence. Like AI is just smart. It's Einstein in a box, but every time you give it a problem, you got to like give it all the context. And so I feel like that's just a big missing piece, is the ability for these things to learn fast, like meaning immediately, like you tell it something and it takes it to heart, and that's what it does from here on out. So that's a big gap. And then the other gap is just they would need to be everywhere we are. Think about when you're in a business, like how many like decisions are made in like the conference rooms. So you'd have to be in the meetings with everyone in the room, at the water cooler, at someone's desk, in phone calls. You have to be in the email chains. You got to be in the Slack threads. And just like humans, if AI is going to be effective, it's going to have questions. It's going to be IMing people. It's going to send you an email or call you and say, hey, I'm working on this project. Can you help me out with this one problem? I don't know where this info is. Like, it's got to be able to do all that stuff as well, which means we need new hardware devices and we need software agents everywhere that things are happening. And then what was the other thing that I was thinking about? And dealing with conflicting info is another tough one. That, when two people are talking and have different opinions on what should be done about a problem, AI's got to be able to somehow know, like, oh, that's the CTO, they know this. That's the CPO, they know this. Therefore, this is probably the right answer when they're saying the opposite things. And maybe even reading body language. Like, you think about humans, and when I say something, if I'm like the way I say it, the way my face changes, like that is like communicating a lot of info that an AI would miss unless it's actually watching too. So you think maybe there even needs to be video to where it's going to be like a coworker, like for it to be a coworker, it's just, there's a lot of things missing that are, so I don't worry a lot about the coworker they're coming in to replace the people until I start to see, like, when the first bot IMs me and asks me a legit question, I'll be scared.
Yeah, no, you make a lot of really good points, because a lot of the technology today is just translating the audio waveforms down into text and then decisioning and doing operations based off of the text. Whereas, I've got kids, they say no or yes. It doesn't really matter what word they say. I know if they're telling the truth or not based off of the tone of their voice and the shape of their character and all of this stuff, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So there's so much there. Dealing with conflicting people, that's interesting. I haven't thought much about that one. But I would like to point out something you said. You said people like learn really fast, but that's got the caveat that you have great people.
Yeah, right.
So some people are listening and they're like, what is he talking about? And the answer is Scott has great people at his company.
Yeah. They take to heart what I say, hopefully.
Now, memory retention. I want to talk a little bit more about that. Have you gotten into, do you use Grok at all, or? No?
I have not used Grok actually, because I'm not on X, and it used to be, but then it was so distracting.
It's its own thing too.
Yeah, so I haven't used Grok yet.
Okay.
And should I? I mean, do you think it's a worthy one to try? I like Claude a lot, and I like ChatGPT and Gemini. So I've used all three. Is there a place for Grok?
I like Grok personally, but that's mostly for ideological reasons. I like the base layer of Grok is to be maximally truth-seeking. Because there's a lack of transparency on how these on ideologies that are put on top of these models after they're trained. Like, so they get trained, and then OpenAI and Claude, they have the boot, whatever you call it, the boot instructions, like that's not available for us to see. We don't know what they're telling it on like fairness or what they mean about equality. Like, we don't know what they're putting into it. Explainability, I think, is going to be something that's exciting to legislate, where they're forced to like tell you the truth about how they're programmed, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But the reason why I brought all this up was because I use the Grok workspaces. So I know, because I've seen Josh, our producer, use it, that Claude has the workspaces as well. But as far as memory retention, so for example, when we, in this episode and the recording happens and all of that, we'll take the audio files and and have them transcribed, and then take that transcription and it runs through a workspace and Claude, which has a series of like pre-programmed things that it runs on it. And so I'm not having to teach it every single every single time it's got this workspace, and anytime I create a new conversation in that workspace, it's got all that pre-programmed stuff in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome that they're doing that. OpenAI also has a similar thing, project level memories.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
but
great.
That's not what you were talking about.
No,
is that not satisfying?
They'll summarize. The AI will like basically take the whole transcript and try to figure out what it thinks is important, and it'll save a couple sentences. That's it. And so it's and then again, the more sentences you have, like the more rules you put to an AI, the more things it has to think about. The less effective it gets. And here's an interesting thing I read, and I have no idea if this is true, so it's just a intuition that it's probably kind of true, is that, the average human has 100 million tokens that they use every time they decide something or say something in their contacts, and then the models are like, I think maybe they allow 1 million tokens max, but I don't know how good they are at 1 million tokens. A lot of them are much smaller, like 100,000 tokens, 200,000 tokens. So it's just, again, so you need bigger models. They got to be able to handle more stuff. And then we need better ways to keep track of all the memories other than just, again, a sentence. I think it's probably saving minimal stuff there. I don't know for sure, but I feel like it's not like a human memory at all.
Yeah, it's better in some ways and it's worse in other ways.
Yeah.
So I do agree with you too that the more knowledge you give it, the more things you give it, the less effective it gets. And that's like a real problem. And to me, I'm wondering if that's going to tell us something about humanity and intelligence in general. Like, because humans work the same way. Like if you flood an employee with like too much stuff, or a person or a peer with like too much stuff, it just gets wonky. Right? They can't do a good job. But if you break it down into what you were saying earlier, where you have these atomic agents and they're just one-to-one, I mean, that's how we're designed as a human structure, like how civilization is designed. We're really, really good at like one thing.
Yep. Yeah.
And I wonder if that's a property of intelligence. Like, I wonder if through technology we'll find out that this is something that happens in intelligence. Intelligence is meant to be these little Lego blocks stacked up. It's not meant to be a single thing.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then you can get real like philosophical and say like and then how it all comes together. Maybe there is some greater form of intelligence that we're just not even aware of. Just like the machines would probably have lots of little agents doing stuff, but then would there be somehow how that comes together into one form of intelligence? I mean, I've read or watched videos, ants, like how they all communicate. And
now you're my best friend.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So yes. Is it similar? We don't know. I think. Yeah. But you said one thing that I wanted to touch on that was really interesting too, with Grok and how it's truth seeking. And I think that's one of the things I also read recently is the way AIs are trained is they're rewarded for sounding confident and penalized for saying I don't know, and that just sets the stage for lots of fibs. And so maybe I would love Grok, because I hate when AI says like do this, and I'm like, are you sure? That seems wrong. And they're like, no, do this, and then I do it, and then I go and say, well, here's what happened, and then it'll say, oh, you were right. Like it's very confident about telling you what to do when it doesn't know, and it doesn't just say like I don't know. I'm not really sure about this. And that's a big problem.
Very frustrating. It does it a lot with API endpoints. Like if I ever need documentation and I'm trying to, get help there, it'll just tell you, oh, the Facebook API is this. And it's like, that's not in the docs. That it looks like a convention that could be,
right.
But yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like I have to say, like, don't invent, like you shouldn't have to say this, but like, hey, how do I authenticate to this API? Don't invent something. If you don't know, tell me. And even then, it's still, hit or miss.
Yeah.
So.
Well, not to get too nerdy, but I have found that if I give it the link to the exact version of the docs that I want, and I constrain it to only use that version, it'll go through the right steps typically.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. It's like, how do we start working with this technology where we kind of game it to get what we need out of it?
Yeah, and that's where we're at. We're all gaming this thing. Everyone's trying to find these clever little tricks to get it to do what you want. And the top researchers I've read say it's very hard to get an AI to do what you want. It's not like there's no answer. It's just, it's hard to do.
Yeah. It was trained on my wife's data. No, I'm kidding. Okay. All right. Off topic. I want to touch on the ants things real quick. Okay. So I've often thought, like, if you walk up to the ant and you're like, hey, your motivation is because of this, the ant would be like, shut up. I'm doing it because I want to do it. And it doesn't understand how it fits into the larger structure. It's just kind of going about and following its instincts and things like that. But then there's this queen ant. Now, how much have you studied it? Do you know how they're communicating, or is it still a mystery?
I thought it was like via smell, like they release
say
like
that.
smells. Yeah, so that's all I seem to remember, smells and.
But do you see how intricate and complex the architectures are that they build underground? It's like smells.
Well, to me, the one was when there was a threat would pop up, then all of a sudden the whole like swarm does something. They start to all behave a certain way. So that's just crazy how like they are collectively reacting dynamically to a situation. And I'm like
the moon launch. Yeah. Like when we were building a rocket have you ever seen the movies when they go back and they show you what America was like when we were going for the rocket race and all of that? It's like everybody, like everyone everywhere was talking about, or you and I were both alive during 9/11, right? Like everywhere, everybody just comes together. That's a unique feeling that happens once in a decade, right?
Right. Yeah. It's very rare. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, dude, this is great. You were surprisingly amazing to talk to.
Yeah, this was fun.
Thank you so much for listening. And if you found this episode useful, please share it with a friend or a colleague who you think would get value from it. And if you have topics that you'd like to hear discussed on the podcast, either add me on LinkedIn or send me an email, joel@moderncto.io. Every time I get an email or LinkedIn message, it absolutely makes my day and inspires me to keep going.